it depends on what screw you're using, because there's one-step screws and two-step screws and multi-step screws. If you wanted to just test for breaches, then that's actually the low-hanging fruit, I think. The interesting thing about that is even without a breach, at a pretty low threshold, you can stimulate the nerve through the bone. And so it's not meant to scare you, but there are stiffer probes. You've seen them like that, the one with no buttons that's a little stiffer. I frequently will use that as my pedicle probe. I'll just curve the tip a little bit. I'll just bend it with my fingers, and I'll use that and feel, medial and caudal and cephalad and lateral, and just make sure I've got bone on all sides. But at pretty low thresholds, you can test that nerve root that's touching that pedicle. So whatever the exiting nerve root is right there. So that's the low hanging fruit, I think. Even for perc screws, a lot of guys will have a wire down their perc screw hole while they do other work, and then they'll put the screws in last after they've done their tubular decompression or pliff or whatever. So that clearly has an indication if you're going to be doing some sort of open decompression and you've got wires down your screw holes preserving that trajectory, you could easily fish a ball tip probe down there to test your for breaches. And then after the screws are in, you can test the back of the screw, and we should probably set a threshold. Is it 8 milliamps or something like that would probably be good. But yeah, I think testing screws, testing screw tracks in perc cases is probably where you would get the most benefit. Or if you're doing something like a spinology, where you're doing an ultra minimally invasive pliff, you would stim the probe on your way down because you're hoping to get into Camden's triangle without removing any facet. And sometimes the nerve is right there, and you can stick that probe down. And if you had a directional probe, you may be able to capture like how far away you are from the exiting root, and also kind of redirect as you go down. Right now, I test the tip of that probe with Neuralytix as I'm going down. And a lot of times I'll get big stimulation and I'll move it kind of caudal away from the nerve root and a little more medial under the facet, and it goes away. And then as soon as you dock into the disc, obviously it goes away completely, and you can mallet your inserter. But so that's another way for a perc case to use Neuralytix for nerve location or nerve safety.